All right, ready for this? We're going deep on Scrum today.
Scrum.
Yeah, that project management frameworks.
Framework promises to help you get twice the work done in half the time.
Yeah,
But it's not just for software people anymore.
right.
We've got excerpts from Jeff Sutherland's book.
Okay.
Even some interesting stuff from the Index.
Interesting stuff.
And guess what? Scrum actually helped fix this multi-million-dollar FBI system meltdown.
Oh, wow.
Seriously.
Yeah, the FBI's case management system was, stuck in the paper age.
Really?
Yeah, imagine that in the 2000s.
Wow.
Like, after 9/11, you'd think they would have modernized, right?
Yeah, you would think.
But their first attempt, this thing called the Sentinel system.
Sentinel system, it totally flopped.
So what went wrong?
Hmm.
Was it just old technology, or was it like a deeper problem?
Well, they use this thing called the waterfall method,
Waterfall method.
which is all about sticking to this super rigid plan.
Okay.
No matter what, like a Gantt chart. Problem is, reality rarely cooperates,
Yeah.
The project went massively over budget, ended up costing $405 million, and was years behind schedule.
Oh, that's painful.
And then these two guys, Jeff Johnson and Chad Fulgham,
Okay.
they took over and said, hey, let's try Scrum. And they wanted to finish the toughest half of the project in 20 months with just 10% of the original budget.
That's a bold move.
It is.
What made them think that Scrum could pull that off?
So one of Scrum's creators, Jeff Sutherland,
Okay.
he had this unique background, He was
Okay.
a fighter pilot in Vietnam.
Wow.
And where he used this thing called the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act.
Ogre loop.
Yeah, to make split-second decisions in combat. This
Right.
this idea of adapting really, really quickly really stuck with him.
So he's taking this combat experience into the business world.
Exactly.
That's kind of a wild connection.
It is, yeah. After the military, Sutherland worked in academia and banking,
Okay.
seeing firsthand how this rigid waterfall method just failed.
Interesting.
But the real aha moment hit him at MIT when he saw Rodney Brooks's Genghis Khan robot.
A robot.
Yeah.
Now I'm really curious.
So this six-legged robot basically taught itself to walk every time it was switched on.
Wow.
No pre-programmed instructions, just pure adaptation based on its environment, right?
So it was learning.
It was learning.
Interesting.
Sutherland realized this mirrored the OODA loop perfectly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
So he saw this robot learning and adapting and thought, hey, we can apply that to teams.
exactly around the same time, Sutherland read this Harvard Business Review paper
Okay.
called The New Product Development Game.
Catchy title.
Yeah, right? It actually criticized waterfall and used a rugby scrum
Rugby Scrum.
as a metaphor for teamwork.
Interesting.
The seeds of Scrum were definitely planted there.
Okay, so we've got fighter pilot instincts, a self-learning robot, and rugby.
Rugby.
That's an origin story unlike any I've heard before.
I know, right?
But how did those ideas actually become Scrum?
So Sutherland's early work was also heavily influenced by W. Edwards Deming.
W. Edwards.
Yeah, the guy who transformed Japanese manufacturing after World War II.
I've heard of Deming.
Yeah,
He was all about quality control and continuous improvement, right?
you got it.
Okay.
Deming's big thing was the plan, do, check, act cycle.
PDCA.
Exactly. Picture building a paper airplane, right?
Right.
You plan the design, you build it, you test it out, and then you make improvements based on how it flies.
Okay.
It's this constant loop of getting better.
So like those old build, measure, learn cycles that startups talk about.
Exactly.
So Scrum's got some deep roots.
Deeper than you'd think.
Yeah.
And that PDCA cycle is the foundation of Scrum's iterative approach.
Okay.
Projects get broken down into these short cycles called sprints,
Sprint.
usually 1 to 4 weeks long. You have daily stand-up meetings to track progress,
Okay.
sprint reviews to show off what you've done,
Right.
sprint retrospectives to figure out how to improve,
Gotcha.
and of course there's the Scrum Master who helps the team stay focused and follow the Scrum process.
Right. So it's like ditch the big rigid plan and embrace constant feedback and adjustment.
Yeah.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay.
Isn't that just chaos?
Mm.
How do you make sure that anything actually gets done?
Well, that's where the power of teams comes in, right?
Okay.
Studies show there's this huge difference in productivity between the best and the worst teams.
Really?
Yeah, think of high-performing teams like the 1980s Celtics or or the Patriots under Tom Brady.
Okay, yeah.
They weren't just like collections of talented individuals.
Right.
They were cohesive units working towards a shared goal.
Right. Teamwork makes the dream work and all that.
Exactly.
But does Scrum, does it have like a magic formula for building those dream teams?
Well, Sutherland himself had a pretty amazing team transformation story back when he was a training officer at West Point.
West Point. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was given this, frankly, impossible task
Okay.
of turning the lowest ranked company into the honor guard for General MacArthur's funeral.
Wait, he turned the worst into the best?
He did,
Uh,
yeah.
Well,
By focusing on three key things:
sorry.
a transcendent purpose, something bigger than themselves,
Right.
autonomy to make their own decisions,
Right.
and cross-functionality, having all the skills they needed within the team. It was a total turnaround, proving that great teams aren't born, they're built.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Scrum isn't just about like processes and tools.
Right.
It's about people. It's about tapping into that team synergy.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
But we've got to be realistic here, right?
Okay.
Even the best teams are limited by time.
Oh, absolutely. Time is our most valuable resource, and unfortunately, it's finite.
Yeah.
The poet Andrew Marvell had it right when he wrote, "Had we but world enough and time," but sadly, we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does Scrum help us squeeze the most out of the time that we do have?
Hmm.
Does it have like some secret time-bending tricks up its sleeve?
Not quite time bending,
Okay.
but it does address a major time waster:
Which is
multitasking.
multitasking. Okay.
You know that feeling of juggling a million things at once and getting nowhere?
Ooh, tell me about it.
Turns out our brains aren't wired for it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought the opposite.
Nope. Every time we switch tasks, there's this context switching cost.
Context switching.
Yeah, and it adds up fast.
Okay, I'll admit, I'm the queen of multitasking.
Oh, yeah.
But you're saying that focusing on one thing at a time is actually more productive.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
If you have 5 projects on your plate, you're losing 75% of your time just switching between them.
Wow, that's a lot of wasted time.
It is, and research shows that multitasking can actually drop your IQ by 10 points.
Ouch, okay.
Yeah.
So Scrum is telling me to ditch the multitasking habit and,
Yeah.
and embrace focused work.
It is.
That's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm starting to see the logic.
It's counterintuitive, but it works.
Okay.
And that focus is especially important when it comes to planning and estimating.
Right.
Another area where traditional methods often fall short,
Okay.
take Medco, a Fortune 100 company.
Great.
They wanted to upgrade their systems, but their initial plan put them at least a year behind schedule, probably more.
Ugh, sounds familiar.
Yeah, right.
Been there, done that.
So how does Scrum help us avoid those planning nightmares?
Yeah. How?
Well, instead of trying to pin down these exact time estimates,
Right.
which we're notoriously bad at, by the way,
Yeah, we are.
Scrum uses relative size.
A relative size.
Think about comparing the weight of different dog breeds.
Okay.
You might not know exactly how much a Chihuahua or a Great Dane weighs,
Right.
but you can easily say which one is bigger.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Okay, so we're comparing the relative size of tasks,
Exactly.
not getting bogged down in hours and minutes.
Right. Scrum often uses the Fibonacci sequence.
Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13.
Okay.
To represent relative size.
Okay.
It creates a more natural and less intimidating scale.
Makes sense.
And teams use this in planning poker,
Planning poker.
where they anonymously vote on task size using cards with these numbers, which helps to avoid one person's opinion dominating the conversation.
So it's like a wisdom of the crowd approach to estimation.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into the planning weaves here,
Okay.
I'm curious about something else that the book mentioned.
Okay.
Stories. You said that in Scrum there are no tasks, only stories.
That's right.
What's that all about?
Well, instead of fixating on these individual tasks,
Yeah.
Scrum wants teams to think about the user's experience and the value being delivered.
Okay.
So instead of like create a calendar function,
Right.
you'd have, as a user, I want to be able to schedule appointments so I can manage my time effectively.
Okay, so it's about connecting the work to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
to the why behind it all.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But who's the storyteller here?
Hmm.
Who who makes sure that these user stories are actually getting translated into real results?
Ah, that's where our next seek player steps in, the product owner.
The product owner.
They're the champion of these stories, the
Yeah.
ones making sure everything aligns with the product vision and delivers real value.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to dive into their superpowers after a short break. Okay, so we've got these user stories like mini narratives about what people want to achieve with our product.
Right.
But stories need a good protagonist, right?
They do.
That's where the product owner comes in.
Yeah.
But what exactly do they do?
They're the heroes of our Scrum epic.
Okay.
Seriously, though, the product owner is crucial.
Okay.
They're one of 3 main roles in Scrum: product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team.
Gotcha.
The product owner's job is to make sure the team's work delivers maximum value.
Value.
Yeah, not just features, but real impact.
So they're like the bridge between what users need and what the team builds.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It is, which is why they need like a specific set of skills.
Okay, what kind of skills?
First, they have to be a domain expert.
Domain expert.
So like if you're building a financial app, your product owner better know finance inside and out.
Makes sense. They need to understand the landscape, the lingo, the potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
But isn't there a risk that they get too caught up in the details and lose sight of the bigger picture?
That's where the second quality comes, in empowerment.
Empowerment.
The product owner is the voice of the customer,
Okay.
the champion of the product vision.
Right.
So they need the authority to make decisions that align with those goals.
So they can't be like constantly checking in with someone else.
Right.
Second guessing every move.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to be decisive.
They do, but they also need to communicate that vision clearly to the team and stakeholders.
Okay.
Explaining technical stuff in a way everyone gets, gathering feedback. It's a balancing act.
They're like a translator, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, it's about results, right?
Spot on. The product owner is ultimately accountable for value.
Okay.
It's not just about churning out features.
Right.
It's about making sure those features actually solve problems and deliver tangible benefits.
Right. So it's not just did we build the thing, it's did the thing we built actually matter?
Exactly.
That's a big shift in thinking.
It is, yeah.
But once you have that awesome product owner in place,
Right.
how do you make sure the team delivers value quickly?
That's where the minimum viable product, or MVP, comes in.
The MVP.
Yeah, instead of trying to build the perfect product right out of the gate,
Right.
you start with a stripped down version that delivers just enough value to get feedback.
So it's like a sneak peek.
Yeah.
A taste test
Exactly.
to see if you're on the right track.
Think of building a camera.
Okay.
The MVP might just take pictures, you know? No zoom, no flash, nothing fancy.
Right.
It's basic, but it captures the core value.
You get it out there, see how people use it,
Yeah.
and then learn and improve from there.
Right.
That's much less risky than spending months building something nobody wants.
It is, and it ties back to that OD loop we discussed earlier.
The OD loop.
By releasing early,
Right.
you're observing, orienting yourself to the market,
Right.
deciding what needs to change, and then acting on it.
Gotcha.
It's that constant feedback loop in action.
So fail fast, learn fast, adapt fast.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Are there any real world examples of this MVP magic in action?
Oh, the book tells this great story about a software developer who landed a $10 million contract.
Okay, 10 million. That's a big contract.
It is,
Yeah.
but the contract had a clause letting the customer terminate early.
Oh, interesting.
With a 20% penalty.
Okay, so that incentivizes quick delivery.
Exactly. Smart move by both sides.
Yeah.
So
I see where this is going.
okay.
The developer used Scrum to get something usable out the door ASA.
Exactly. They worked in 1-month sprints.
1 month sprints.
Delivering a working piece of the software after each one.
Okay.
After just 3 months, the customer had enough to meet their needs. So they paid the penalty and walked away happy.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins.
The customer saved money. The developer still profited.
Yep.
That's a powerful testament to the flexibility of Scrum.
It is.
But we've talked a lot about process, about efficiency.
Right.
What about the human side of things?
Hmm.
Where does happiness fit into all of this?
That's a great question, and it's something Scrum takes seriously.
Okay.
There's a whole chapter in the book about the happiness metric.
Wait, you can actually measure happiness at work.
You can, yeah.
I'm intrigued.
It's about regularly asking the team what would make you happier.
Mm.
It's that simple.
Okay.
Creating a space for open and honest feedback,
Right.
understanding what's working and what's not.
So it's less about like beanbag chairs and ping pong tables.
Right.
And more about creating a truly supportive and fulfilling work environment.
Yeah, and that has like real business benefits.
Yeah.
Happy people are more creative,
Right.
more engaged, more likely to stay in their jobs.
Makes sense.
The book talks about Zappos, the shoe company.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They're obsessed with employee happiness, and they've seen incredible growth.
Yeah, they're proving that happy employees lead to happy customers.
Yeah.
And a happy bottom line.
Exactly.
But I can see how it could be easy to get complacent.
Mm-mm.
You know, if everyone's feeling good,
Yeah.
you might lose that drive to improve.
That's the danger of the happy bubble.
Happy bubble.
Teams get comfortable. Their velocity plateaus, and
Yeah.
they risk losing their edge.
So how do you pop that bubble?
You need a wise fool.
A wise fool.
Someone who's willing to challenge the status quo, ask the tough questions,
Okay.
point out where things are getting stale.
I like that they're the ones who aren't afraid to say, hey, maybe the emperor isn't wearing any clothes.
Exactly. And Scrum, with its emphasis on transparency and regular retrospectives,
Right.
it creates the perfect space for the wise fool to thrive.
I see, but so far we've mostly talked about Scrum in a business context.
Yeah.
Did you say it's being used in other areas too?
I did.
I'm dying to hear about those real world examples.
Okay.
Schools, government, nonprofits, you name it.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Tell me Scrum is changing the world.
It is. Let's start with Ashram College, a high school in the Netherlands.
Okay.
Willie Winans, a chemistry teacher, was frustrated with traditional teaching methods. So he decided to try Scrum in his classroom.
Scrum and chemistry.
Yeah.
That's an unexpected combination.
It is, right?
Did he make the students do like daily stand-ups about Bunsen burners?
Not quite. He set up a Scrum board with learning objectives. Students formed teams, chose topics, and worked collaboratively to master the material. They even had sprint reviews and retrospectives.
Wow, so they're learning to be self-directed,
Yeah.
responsible for their own success.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
It is, and it worked.
It worked.
Students were more engaged, more motivated, and achieved a deeper understanding.
So it's not just about software.
Yeah.
It's about how we approach any complex challenge.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sold on the education front.
Okay.
But what about something with a bigger like societal impact?
Let's look at the Grameen Foundation in Uganda.
Okay.
They're using Scrum to develop mobile apps that connect farmers to vital information.
Mobile apps for farmers in Uganda.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How does that work?
So the Grameen Foundation, known for microfinance,
Right.
realized that even in remote areas, mobile phones could be a game changer.
Oh.
They trained local community knowledge workers to use smartphones,
Okay.
loaded with custom apps.
So it's like having agricultural experts right in their pockets.
Exactly. The apps provide weather forecasts,
Okay.
pest control tips, best practices for different crops, even market information.
Wow.
And it's all in local languages, making it accessible to everyone.
That's brilliant. But where does Scrum fit in?
So the Grameen Foundation's tech team in Kinshasa. Yeah, they use Scrum to develop these apps.
Oh.
They work in short sprints, constantly iterating and improving based on feedback from the farmers and
Right.
those community knowledge workers.
So they're not just building apps in a vacuum.
Yeah.
They're directly responding to the needs on the ground.
Exactly.
That's true user-centric design.
It is, yeah.
But Scrum in developing countries is one thing.
Okay.
Can't really work in a large bureaucratic system like say the U.S. government.
You might be surprised the Washington state government is using Scrum to streamline policy delivery and increase transparency.
Wait, seriously, government agencies doing Agile?
They are.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
They're delivering actionable policies every week.
Wow.
They've even torn down cubicle walls.
No,
and formed Scrum teams.
that's amazing.
It's about making small, impactful changes instead of getting bogged down in red tape.
Okay, color me impressed. If Scrum can make government more efficient, then it truly can change the world.
And there's one more example, perhaps the most inspiring of all.
Okay, let's hear it.
After Iceland's financial collapse in 2008, the people demanded a new constitution.
Okay.
Guess how they wrote it?
Don't tell me Scrum.
They formed a constitutional committee
Okay.
and used Scrum to draft the document.
Wow.
They worked in weekly sprints,
Weekly sprints.
releasing sections to the public every Thursday for feedback.
They crowdsourced their constitution using Scrum.
They did.
That's incredible. It shows that Scrum isn't just a tool for businesses.
Right.
It's a philosophy, a way of working together to solve complex problems and create a better future.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to combat cynicism.
Cynicism.
It's easy to get bogged down and think things can't be changed.
Yeah, I get that.
But Scrum reminds us that we have the power to shape our world.
Right. It's a call to action.
Yeah.
A reminder to constantly ask, how can we make things better?
Exactly. And that's not just some lofty ideal.
Right.
There are practical steps you can take to implement Scrum in your own work no matter what you do.
Okay.
We can dive into those after a quick break.
All right. We've seen Scrum in action from classrooms to constitutions.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. But now let's get practical. How do we actually implement this thing? It can't just be wishful thinking and sticky notes, right?
Definitely not. It takes commitment and a structured approach, you know? The book lays out a clear path, and step one is assembling the right team.
Okay, so like putting together a special ops unit for tackling complex challenges.
Exactly.
So who do we need on this A team? I'm guessing the product owner is our fearless leader.
We need that visionary who champions the product and makes sure it delivers real value.
Right.
Someone who's a domain expert, empowered to make decisions, a clear communicator, and laser focused on impact.
Sounds like we need to find a unicorn.
They're out there.
Okay, well, assuming we've snagged that rare talent, who else joins the squad?
Next up, the development team. The doers, the builders, the ones who bring the product vision to life.
Okay.
The key here is cross-functionality.
Cross-functionality.
You need all the skills required to get the job done all in one team.
So no more siloed departments, everyone working together towards a shared goal.
Exactly.
That's a big shift for a lot of organizations.
It is, but it's essential for Scrum to work. And smaller teams are usually better, you know.
Oh, yeah.
3 to 9 people is the sweet spot.
Okay.
Any bigger and communication gets messy.
Keep it lean and mean. I like it.
Exactly.
But who keeps this lean, mean team on track? We need someone to guide them through the Scrum process, right?
That's where the Scrum Master comes in.
The Scrum Master.
They're not a traditional manager, more like a coach or a facilitator.
Okay.
Their job is to help the team self-organize, remove obstacles, and constantly improve.
So they're not telling people what to do.
Right.
They're helping the team figure out the best way to do it themselves.
Exactly. They're servant leaders focused on empowering the team.
That's a subtle but important distinction.
It is, yeah.
Now, with the team in place,
Mm-hmm.
we need a plan of attack. That's where the product backlog comes in.
The product backlog.
It's a prioritized list of everything that needs to be done to realize the product vision.
Right. Think of it as a living document that evolves as the team learns and adapts.
Okay, so it's like our to-do list, but for world domination or whatever awesome product we're building.
Exactly. The product owner is responsible for keeping it updated.
Okay.
Making sure items are clearly defined, prioritized, and estimated.
And remember, we estimate using relative sizing,
Yeah.
not exact time frames.
Right, like comparing those dog breeds, we talked about that.
Exactly. So how do we actually start working through this backlog? Do we just pick a task and go?
That's where the sprints come in.
The sprints.
Each sprint starts with a sprint planning meeting.
Okay.
The team, the product owner, and the Scrum Master decide what they'll tackle during the sprint.
Okay.
They also set a sprint goal, like a clear objective for those few weeks.
So it's like choosing a battle to win.
Yeah.
Focusing all their energy on achieving that one goal.
Exactly. And once the sprint is running, there's a daily stand-up meeting. A quick check-in where everyone shares their progress plans and any roadblocks they're facing.
So it's like a daily huddle, making sure everyone's in sync and no one's getting stuck.
Yeah.
But what happens at the end of the sprint? Is it just, okay, on to the next one?
There are two important meetings, the sprint review and the sprint retrospective.
Sort of review, sprint retrospective.
A sprint review is where the team shows off what they've built, gathers feedback, and celebrates their wins.
A chance to bask in the glory of their accomplishments.
Exactly, but I bet the retrospective is where the real learning happens.
Yeah, you're right. That's where they reflect on what went well, what could be improved, and what they'll do differently next time.
Right. It's about continuous improvement, always striving to get better.
So it's not just about shipping products. It's about constantly refining the process itself.
Exactly.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
And that, in a nutshell, is Scrum. A framework that helps teams deliver value faster, adapt to change, and achieve amazing things.
It can be pretty amazing what teams can accomplish.
We've covered a lot today, the origins, the principles, the practical steps, and inspiring stories from all over the world.
All over.
It's clear that Scrum isn't just a fad, it's a fundamental shift in how we work, how we learn, and how we solve problems.
It really is.
So dear listeners, we leave you with this challenge. Think about a project or a challenge in your life.
Yeah.
Could Scrum help you achieve more than you thought possible? We encourage you to dive deeper into this world and see how its principles can transform your work and your life.
You might just change the world.
Who knows? You might just change the world.
Until next time, keep diving deep.